Man, this is lifestyles of the poor and unfucking fortunate. But I tell you what, but bitch, we got views.
What's going on, everybody? ChadArmesTV. This is part 4 of the old Chatty Bobby story, I guess you could say. I'm about to ready to go pick up Leroy. We're about to go do some studio stuff. When we left off, part 3 was a doozy. Part 3, I talked about my drug addiction, disappearing off the face of the earth for a few years. We're fast forwarding to 2015 now. Well, we'll start here. Before we start, though, thanks to all the supporters. I love each and every one of y'all. Y'all are amazing. Be sure to hit the subscribe button. We're closing in on 28,000 subscribers. Let's keep that train moving. Let's get to 30. Let's get to 40, 50, 100K so I can get that plaque. You know what I mean? That'd be the best thing ever. Okay. So I came back from my 2-year hiatus, get back on social media. I've got a whole new outlook on life. You know, I look at things completely differently than I did before. I'm sober. I had left my factory job. I'm working retail now, and I had written a little bit, but not a lot over those 2 years. I had a project that was finished before I took the 2-year break. Fat Boy Swag Volume 3. It was a 2-disc project. I did get that done before that, so I put that out after I came back. I also put out the Shake and Bake Greatest Hits right before I left in 2012, in June of 2012. So I had that project out. I had Fat Boy Swag 3 out. It came out and I didn't really promote it or anything. And by taking them 2 years off, man, I really got behind on a lot of stuff. Social media wise, the buzz that I had was completely gone. And then people that I was working so closely with, like Jelly and some other folks, I mean, they took off. You know what I mean? And I was so proud to see that, you know what I mean? And I felt like a new person. I really did. And I got back to it, man. I started working on my first album since the return, and it was called Happy Days. And it was just the mood that I had, you know, after taking that break and being sober and seeing all the way my mind was clouded for those 6-7 years or whatever it was. And I really do like the Happy Days project. The majority of the project was recorded. My boy Chance, my boy C Rich recorded it for me and mastered it for me, mixed it and all that good stuff. And it had some really dope songs on it. Beautiful was the one that really, it was probably my most popular solo song I've ever done. It was a song basically talking about a girl that was abused by her family. Her family were drug addicts. She was abused. She just wanted to be loved. She just wanted to be called beautiful. And I did. And then the video Slick went viral on Facebook. I mean, to me, it went viral. It was over almost 200,000 views on Facebook. And I had some good traction going into that. People were glad to see me back. I was glad to be back. I came back from a 2-year hiatus. My hair was down to my shoulders. It was a whole different deal. Long Hair Don't Care was one of the singles off that Happy Days project. Then the project I started working on in 2015, 2014 when I came back. But the project itself didn't come out until 2017. Okay. But in the midst of coming back, I said I wanted to do other stuff because I had done a YouTube channel my 2 years off, doing like collectors YouTube channel, collecting movies, collected wrestling stuff, wrestling footage. I'm a big wrestling fan back in the day. Still a big movie fan. Still collect movies. And I did that to kind of have an outreach to people that didn't even know about my music, really. It was kind of like my way to interact with folks. Well, I wanted to start doing podcasting because podcasting had gotten big about that time, and my boy Chance, again, said, well, let's do it. So he had a studio spot, and we started the Chad Arms Show. And I loved it, man. We only did about 7 or 8 episodes. It was a video podcast, and it went well, man. And that was when I first met Upchurch. Salute to my dog Upchurch, man. He's done so much to help the channel, and I appreciate you, bro. I love you, dog, and I really do appreciate you. We got the interview with Church. And we wanted to keep doing the podcast because it was cool. But at the time, what we were wanting to do, we just didn't have the means to do it. As far as I was still working full time, Chance was working full time, and it was just a big undertaking doing that podcast. So we kind of strayed away from it. But I did start doing the podcast back then, and yeah, we did get that going, and people started to see kind of a different side of me when I come back. Before I took my break, I was wearing all the stupid gaudy jewelry and the Chatty Bobby gimmick, and I came back and I don't wear any jewelry. I've gained a bunch of weight. I got long hair, and I just have a different outlook on everything. But it was the right outlook to have, you know what I mean? And it's the same outlook I have now. But it's almost like I found myself whenever I went through all that, and I guess that's just kind of what you have to do sometimes. But we kept the momentum going. Social media was doing well. I started selling merch. We dropped Happy Days April 1st of 2017. And again, like I said, it did well. And we were just continuing to push, and I felt like I was getting my groove back. I did feel like Happy Days, while I like that album, I do feel like Happy Days was not rushed, but like rusty, I should say. I was rusty on that album. And when I go back and listen to it, I can tell, you could tell I took 2 years off because I wasn't 100%, as far as like what I was before. But I still enjoy that project a lot. And then I just decided to just keep hitting people with stuff. We did Happy Days, that came out in April 1st of 2017. And then 6 months later, I decided to get this idea. Let me do something called Baker's Dozen, like a trilogy series. I did the Fatboy Swag trilogy. Let me do Baker's Dozen. Baker's Dozen trilogy was 3 albums, 13 songs apiece. Obviously, Baker's Dozen's 13. And I was like, let's just see what happens. And we did Baker's Dozen 1, and it did well. And then, Baker's Dozen 1 had a lot of cool songs on it, I feel like. I had some features from some artists as well. And I just got back in the groove of things. I was working full-time, doing retail work at Best Buy, still making my music, still doing the YouTube channel. But keep in mind, ChadArmesTV in 2012 stopped. And it was still not a thing. It was a dead channel. The channel you're watching this on, from 2012 to 2021, was a dead channel for 9 years. Because I had the Chatty Bobby 1130 channel. I wasn't doing YouTube for my music. So that's what's crazy to think about during all this. So fast forward, we're doing Baker's Dozen 1. It's doing really good. We just keep the momentum going with Baker's Dozen 2. That's when I put the I Love You song out. Now, the I Love You song, I Still Love You. The crazy thing about that song, me and Rolla and Jelly recorded that I Still Love You song in 2007. Rolla gave me his verse before he really even got back into music. Jelly recorded his verse at my house before he got locked up. That's why when I released the song and put my verse on it, it says Free Jelly, because I recorded my verse while Jelly was locked up. But we never released the song. We never put it out. All those songs we put out over the years, that never made any of my projects, and I don't have a clue why. I can't tell you why. But it's the most streamed and downloaded song that I've ever had. And it's just crazy how that works out. So 2017 comes along, and I start thinking, well, shit, let's just put this song on there as a bonus track. It's never came out officially. You know what I mean? Nobody's heard it. Let's see what people think about it. And man, it just took off. It just took off. And it's so crazy. The song was 10 years old when I released it. 2017. It was 07. It was 10 years old. But that really, did well. Baker's Dozen 2. And then we're fast forwarding to 2018. And we put out Baker's Dozen 3, which is my favorite of the 3. Shout out to my boy D-Ray. Got my boy D-Ray Rookie on a song on that album. And so I got several other features on there too, but shout out to Roach. Shout out to Marco Parks. Shout out to Legacy. I don't want to forget anybody. Shout out to my boy Marcus J, Quick Money. Actually, I do want to shout everybody out on this one. Sorry, but yeah, I mean that's the one that I liked all 3 of them, obviously, but that's the one that I really, really enjoyed. It is Baker's Dozen 3. I enjoyed it the most. I felt like it was the best one of all of my projects. It came out in 2019. And my boy Smoke Corleone got back and started. We've been doing stuff. He was on Happy Days. He's my boy BJ Suter. Shout out to him. So shout out to my boy Waves the Rapper, Wicked, who we talked about in the first one. I brought back some cats that I'd been working with from Jump on this project, 2019, right? So just keeping things moving, man. And again, we're still doing the same thing. We're still working full time. We're still doing music on the side. Still haven't brought back ChadArmesTV. Okay? Fast forward the following year. We dropped the album 22, which really picked up steam. I was back in my bag. You know what I mean? At this time, like I said, I was rusty with Happy Days, and I felt like I kept getting better and better with the Baker's Dozen trilogy. And I just kept working. Like I was back in the bag I was in before. Just no drugs, not fighting addiction, not being silly and doing stupid stuff. Just working and networking and making music. And 22, the streams on that increased from the previous one, right? You know, we had the Myself joint with me and Supreme Lyric that I absolutely love. The Emmett Smith record. Blake Fades, me and my boy Blake Fades. I got a feature from him, Too Smooth. I love that record, man. My boy Low Keezy showed out on there with me. Shout out to him. Roach is on there. My boy BJ, my boy Legacy, my boy Big Matt. So I really do like the 22 album. That was July 1st, 2020. So I'm steady increasing with my buzz and my streams. And then, let's see, February 2021, I get a phone call. I get a message on IG from Jelly. Me and Jelly have spoken. We spoke at the beginning of the pandemic through IG, but you got to think from 2014 to 2021, me and Jelly didn't talk much. Here and there, I took the 2-year break and didn't talk to anybody. I came back from the 2-year break. We would text and talk once or twice a year maybe, because he was super busy. I was doing my own thing, and we hadn't talked much. You know what I mean? I get a text from Jelly on IG in February, and we chopped it up for a good hour and a half, and it felt so good to get back in touch with him. He was talking about how Worm was about to get out, and I hadn't heard from Worm but a few times here and there. But anytime Worm hit me up and needed money, I would send it to him. If I didn't have it, I would tell him I'd send it to him on payday, which Worm's vouched for on them videos. I wasn't there with Worm every step of the way while he was locked up. But you got to understand something. Before Worm went into lockup, before Worm got locked up, I had taken that 2-year break and lost contact with everybody. So when I got back, he got locked up shortly after I got back on social media and stuff. We had talked a few times, but we had just lost contact, just like I'd lost contact with everybody, because I damn near had a nervous breakdown. So Worm was about to get out, and the end, so like a week after I talked to Jelly for the first time on the phone in like 6 years, I get a phone call from my boss at Best Buy. Now keep in mind, during the pandemic, I'd been working remotely. I get a phone call out of nowhere that says that they're restructuring the company and they're going to have to lay me off permanently. I'd been with Best Buy 5 years, y'all. I had full benefits, 401k, all of that. And get a phone call that says, yeah, we're going to give you a severance package, and you may be able to get unemployment, but the company, I hate to make this call, and it wasn't his fault, it was just the company. So I was like, what? Excuse me? Huh? And luckily, I was able to draw unemployment until I was like, what am I going to do? Because all of my work experience is retail and factory work. There's no retail anymore. And I'm too old and out of shape to be doing factory work. So I was like, man, well, I don't know what's going to happen. A week after I get laid off, I get a text from Worm on Facebook. He had gotten home from jail, so I sent him like a welcome home, Bubba, you know, glad you're home. And he hits me up and says, hey, man, me and Lex have been talking. We want us three to get the band back together. And I was like, okay. And it was crazy, man. I got laid off from Best Buy. A week after that, Worm calls me. And then like 3 weeks after that, me and my lady, we pull up on Worm and we shoot that part one of Worm is Back. March 29th or 30th or whenever it was. And ChadArmesTV's right back at it, man. ChadArmesTV needed Worm as much as Worm needed ChadArmesTV. Like, Worm wanted to get back, because he was back out, he wanted to get back into things, and he needed an outlet to get back into things. And ChadArmesTV had been synonymous with Worm because from the beginning. And you got to think, 2009, I get laid off from my job. That's when ChadArmesTV starts. Fast forward 12 years later, I get laid off and ChadArmesTV starts back up a week after I'm laid off. It's crazy how things work out. And we just hit the ground running, man. And things were awesome, man. I'm so glad I got to spend that time with Worm. It was less than a month. But I'm so glad I got to spend that time with him. And we got to bond and we got to make that content for y'all that is going to let it live forever. And I'm forever thankful for that. And I hate that he's gone, and I miss him every single day. But I know he's watching over us, and I know he's happy for what we're doing. And we're going to keep doing it, you know, and that's where we're at now. You know, ChadArmesTV started in 2009 to 2012. It had a 3-year run and made all that noise. And then it went dormant for 9 years. I thought about deleting the channel multiple times because I was like, but I didn't because of the Jelly Roll freestyle. And now we're back, and we're you know, when we got back we had 13,000 subscribers when we got back in March of 21. And as this video is being filmed, we're at 27,000. So we've doubled the subscriber base. And now it's an everyday grind. You know, what I give to you guys and gals, it's not cheap. It's not cheap, and it's not easy. I am very appreciative for the relationships that I've built to get us to where we're at and to keep us going and keep us going and keep us going. But we couldn't do it without y'all. And the success that we're having is because of y'all directly and the support that y'all have given us. And R.I.P. Worm, I love you so much, dog. I miss you. We're forever going to hold you down. And the interviews that you're seeing, the podcast is doing really well. Salute to Squints, Lex, 5'3", Leroy, the whole I Got Some Shit to Say main group, all the guests that have been on it so far, Chucky V, B. Howard, F.U. Stan, Killer Calico, Tony Delano, everybody that's been on the podcast. We really appreciate it, and we're going to keep this train moving. But in 4 parts, that is Chad Arms. You know, and it's been a crazy 12 years, man. Since 2009 when it started to now, it's been a crazy 12 years. But hopefully with the Lord's blessings and you know, and good graces, that we'll continue that for y'all. I love each and every one of y'all. I appreciate all the support. And every day that I get up, it's going to be a day that I'm going to try to give y'all the best of my ability when it comes to ChadArmesTV. So I love each and every one of y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed the series. We're going to keep this train moving. We got some interviews lined up in the works, hopefully. Podcast content weekly, sometimes twice a week. So just stay tuned, man. I love each and every one of you. Yeah. Leroy Big solo album dropping soon. It's going to be the album of the year, man. I promise. I love y'all.